if there are mobiles,
Right.
sorry, could people turn them off, please?
Yeah,
Just they'll interfere with the sound. Thank you.
In fact, John Lee Hooker played at my high school, the Jesuit high school in Detroit. Blues was everywhere, music was everywhere. This was the 60s, so we had Motown, we had what they called the White Panthers, sort of the MC5 group. We had, and they played at my high school, we had Bob Seger used to play dances. Music was everywhere. My brother was the one who was really into the blues, and he introduced me to a lot of great blues musicians. He still plays the blues now. He's 60 years old and sort of the premier blues player up in the northern Michigan area in the Upper Peninsula. But how I found Rory was not through him. My best friend in Detroit growing up was also a great musician and great music fan, went to see Blind Faith. And he came back saying, oh, they were a disappointment, but the opening act was spectacular. And that was Taste. So we were roommates in college, and of course got every Taste album and then every Rory album as they came out. And I've just been following along ever since.
Now, I understand that at one stage, I suppose being a Jesuit and visiting the Far East is not unusual. And I suppose we might have a little chat about some of those opportunities in terms of meeting, seeing different cultures and hearing different forms of music. But I understand that you went on the trail of some unique recordings of Rory's when you were in Japan.
Well, we have a lot of the albums on vinyl, but of course to get them on CD is very hard. In the US, they're just not available. I did find out you can get them in Japan. And so when I was there, I went with a Jesuit who spoke Japanese. We went into a BMI store, and or HMI, whatever they're called there, and asked the fellow, you know, do you have Rory Gallagher? And he looked at us and he said, I'll check in my computer. And he types in LOLLYGARR. But in fact, they had a great selection of Rory Gallagher Japanese pressings. So I bought as many as I could afford.
Now, you've obviously stayed with that music, and I think, isn't that one of the remarkable things about Gallagher and that three-piece, that you got to really, I suppose you've got an amazing bedrock of information by living and growing up in somewhere like Detroit and hearing some of those blues players. Would you have a favourite recording that Rory has done over the years?
Well, the album that I have to say is my favorite at the moment, it switches, it moves from time to time, but I really love Defender. And I was really thinking of the song during the last election about, I'm blanking on the title of it, but you know the one I mean. Slander.
Slander, yeah. Not Brute Force and Ignorance.
No. Of course I've got the
No, if we had the album in
right.
front of us now, I'd be able to think of it straight
Yes.
away.
But I think maybe my favorite of all is on the first solo album, and I Fall Down. It's funny, when I heard it as a kid, I saw it as a love song, which of course it is. And now as a Jesuit, I see it almost as a religious song. I see it as any relationship between a lover and one who's loved. And that sort of anxiety, do they still love me, do they still not love me? It echoes our search for God in a funny way. And I think that's the beauty of really well done music. It can speak to you at so many different albums. The song I'm trying to think of was, of course, Smear Campaign. And natural for the election series. But this just has, the Defender album just has so many wonderful songs on it.
And what about Fresh Evidence? Because I know that he was very, very proud of it. I was fortunate enough to interview him on many occasions and got to know him quite well from the days of Taste right through.
Right.
But Fresh Evidence, I think, was a whole new start for him, and tragically, obviously, he was taken from us in 1995. But I'm intrigued, and I totally agree with you. His music has a very spiritual quality to it, and when tribute bands play I Fall Down, there are grown men in tears listening to that song.
I have a terrible confession to make. I've never heard Fresh Evidence. By the time that came out, I was not in a position where I could get music. I was living in Italy. The songs don't arrive there. I've never heard the album. That's one of the things I'm hoping to be able to get as a copy of that.
Well, I'll rectify that for you. No problem.
But it also means there's still wonderful Rory out there that I haven't heard yet.
Also, I suppose, living in Rome and working in Rome, the Italians have always had a huge connection with blues. I mean, John Lee Hooker, when he went to Italy first on one of his first European tours, discovered albums he hadn't even realised he'd made.
I remember once seeing Eric Clapton on Italian television, And the Italian announcer was going on effusively describing at great length the deeper and deeper meanings of his music, and Eric finally answered in English, yeah. You're right, there is a great love of any kind of music there, but there's also the tendency to read too much into it, to try to make it cosmic. The whole point is it's not cosmic, it's personal.
Now, I suppose you're of the right generation, like myself, if I may be so bold, that really the essence of what Rory and his music is about are the taste years to a large extent.
They are, and yet I think it was really important for him to go beyond that. One of the funny things I know I've read in interviews of him was they complained that the taste albums were not particularly well produced. That's ridiculous. They were exactly right for the time, the raw power of it. They were not overproduced, and that's one of the reasons why I think they've survived and sounded so good today.
Very good. I think rather than us talk anymore, we might head off on this stroll. And what we're really going to do is start just across the road from here. The Capitol Cineplex showed Irish Tour 74, and it's across the road from the library here in Bishop Lucy Park. We're going to go round by Peter and Paul's Church, which was designed by Pugin, and basically we're going to kind of sweep around and end up back at City Hall, where he performed many, many times.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much indeed, Brother Guy.
Thank you. And don't let me walk off with this. I will. Except this is what I do.